Have you ever imagined a country that decided to grow, not upwards or sideways, but straight into the sea? Well, that's exactly what Monaco did. Where there used to be only the Mediterranean Sea, today there is a new neighborhood full of trees, million-dollar apartments, a private marina, and cutting-edge technology. A place that cost more than $2 billion and was built, literally, on top of the waves. And the result is a jaw-dropping feat of engineering and luxury. And that's where we're going. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to Mareterra, the billionaire neighborhood that Monaco built from scratch on the sea. Number 1. A country smaller than a park. If you follow the channel, you may have already watched the video where we show you some interesting facts about Monaco. One of them is that there is practically no poverty there. But if you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. As soon as you finish this one, check it out. The link is in the description. The fact is that Monaco is so small that it would fit entirely inside a park. To give you an idea, it has an area of just over 0.772 square miles. It's smaller than Central Park in New York. Even so, the country is home to about 38,000 inhabitants, all squeezed into a narrow strip between the mountains and the sea. And they are not just any inhabitants. Thanks to its status as a tax haven, where there has been no income tax since 1969, Monaco has attracted a constellation of millionaires and celebrities for decades. People of the caliber of Formula One, drivers such as Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, and international stars have taken up residence in the Principality. The problem? Available land has become a luxury item. With mountains on one side and the sea on the other, there was simply nowhere else to grow. It is no wonder that the territory itself has become Monaco's most precious asset. Every square feet is worth its weight in gold, and land has become synonymous with wealth there. Historically, the only solution was to steal a piece of the sea. Since the 19th century, Monaco has reclaimed land from the sea, including a large landfill in the 60s that is now the Fontvieille neighborhood. But none of these expansions prepared the country for the challenge of the 21st century, which would bring a new generation of billionaires hungry for space and an already saturated real estate market to the Principality. Number 2. When the sea became an option. With the territory fully utilized and the demand for luxury housing only increasing, Monaco had to think big, or rather, think deep. Around 2015, the Principality's government, together with Prince Albert II himself, decided to take the idea forward. The new territorial expansion would have to take place over water. The location chosen was a cove to the east of the territory, called Le Portier. It is right next to the Japanese Garden, and right next to the entrance to the Formula One tunnel, one of the most famous sections of the Monte Carlo circuit. It was practically the only corner of the coast where it was still possible to create a piece of land. Thus, the Mareterra project was born, a name that combines sea and land, exactly what Monaco was creating. The proposal was to increase the territory by about 3%, equivalent to approximately 6 hectares, by building a new high-end neighborhood with the look of an ecological district. Or, as one of the urban planners involved summed it up, in Monaco, the real luxury is the territory itself, and Mareterra would be the newest and most expensive address in this exclusive area. In practice, it was the country saying, since we can't grow sideways, we'll grow into the water. And the whole world waited to see if Monaco would really achieve this feat. Number 3. A neighborhood born on the water. In 2018, all that existed in the place was open sea. That's when the ships started to arrive. Specialized equipment went into action to prepare the Mediterranean seabed. In July 2019, There was even a symbolic ceremony with the laying of the first brick of the new neighborhood. From then on, a real race against time began. Monaco wanted Mareterra ready as soon as possible. The engineering was daring. The first step was to erect a barrier to hold back the sea. To do this, 18 mega-reinforced concrete caissons were used, each weighing around 10,000 tons and over 85 feet high. These structures were manufactured in Marseille and towed by sea to Monte Carlo. The caissons formed a kind of submerged frame, and inside this frame the space was filled with rock, sand, and compaction material until it became solid ground. In the end, what they did there was create an artificial island. A new piece of land appeared where before there was only water. And best of all, it was all completed in less than 5 years, an impressive time frame for a project of this size. In December 2024, Mareterra was finally inaugurated with a celebration by the Monegasque royal family. The project, which cost more than 2 billion euros, added more than 6 hectares to the country and transformed Monaco into the first microstate in Europe to truly grow in the 21st century. Number 4. The construction saga. Anyone who has ever renovated a house or built a wall in their backyard knows how much work it takes. Now imagine building an entire neighborhood on top of the sea. Just raising the ground was an immense challenge, but keeping that land stable, even with the Mediterranean crashing against it day and night, was another problem. A problem that required ingenious solutions. That's where the concrete caissons came in, those giant structures that serve as the foundation for the neighborhood. In addition to holding the soil in place, they also function as a huge breakwater. But it's not just a static wall. The design was thought out in minute detail to dissipate the energy of the waves. Inside each caisson are the so-called Yarlin chambers. These are hollow spaces, above water level, connected by vertical slits. When the waves crash, the water enters through these slits, collides inside, and loses its force. It's as if the sea were hitting cushions. According to the director of the consortium that coordinated the work, this structure ensures that even in the strongest storms, Mareterra remains dry. And so far, it has worked well. In the first heavy winter after the inauguration, the neighborhood held firm with no flooding and no scares. But the engineers went further. The walls of the caissons are not smooth. They were purposely left with textures, cutouts, and niches to attract marine life. Over time, algae, fish, and other organisms began to settle there. In practice, what was a concrete block also became an artificial reef. In other words, Mareterra not only protects itself from the sea, but also welcomes part of it back. Number 5. Luxury architecture. If there's one thing that couldn't be missing in a new neighborhood in Monaco, it's luxury. And Mareterra does not disappoint. To design the new part of the city, the government called on a veritable dream team of architects. The main project was entrusted to Italian architect Renzo Piano, who also designed the Pompidou Center in Paris and the Shard in London. He designed the neighborhood's most iconic building, called Lorenzo, a modern building with soft shapes and a blue facade, which has become the new postcard image of the coast. But it didn't stop there. The neighborhood also had contributions from other big names, and the result is a harmonious ensemble inspired by the curves of the Mediterranean coast. No hard lines or exaggeration. The buildings have light-colored facades, soft curves, lots of glass, natural stone, and reforested wood. Mareterra includes 110 apartments, distributed across 2 residential blocks, as well as 10 high-end villas by the sea and 4 semi-detached houses near the urban center. There are penthouses that easily exceed 10,700 square feet. They are true mansions suspended over the sea. In addition to the residences, the neighborhood has a private marina with space for luxury yachts, 14 commercial spaces, including restaurants, cafes, and boutiques, and about 3 hectares of public leisure areas. In the heart of the neighborhood, there is a 1-hectare wooded park with fountains, paths, and gardens. And running along the entire edge of the neighborhood is the Paseo do Príncipe Jacques, an approximately 2,620 feet boardwalk that circles the perimeter of Mareterra and has become part of the routine of those who live there. It is common to see people jogging, pushing baby strollers, or simply admiring the sea. To top it off, the neighborhood gained a monumental work of art, the sculpture Quatre Lances by American artist Alexander Calder, which was restored and installed in one of Mareterra's central squares. The result? Where once there was only water, today there is a complete neighborhood with streets, squares, sculptures, avant-garde architecture, and one of the most desirable addresses in Europe. And the most incredible thing is that, for those who walk around there, it seems as if the neighborhood has always been there. The fit with the coastline was so well thought out that even those who live there forget that they are stepping on land created from scratch. Number 6. A green and smart district. From the beginning, Monaco presented Mareterra as a sustainable neighborhood. And at least on paper, this is evident in various details of the project. About 60% of the total area has been allocated to green spaces. That's no small feat. More than 1,000 trees of various species have been planted. Initially, the talk was of 800, but more recent reports indicate that the number has exceeded 1,100 seedlings. In addition, there are more than 35,000 plants scattered throughout gardens, green roofs, and even plant walls. All this vegetation helps to lower the temperature between buildings and also acts as a barrier against noise. A welcome relief amid the skyscrapers and busy avenues of Monte Carlo. The energy aspect is also impressive. There are approximately 96,800 square feet of solar panels installed on the roofs and structures of the neighborhood. This mini power plant is capable of supplying approximately 80% of the energy used for heating and cooling the buildings, which greatly reduces dependence on external sources. To top it off, Mareterra uses geothermal heat pumps and systems that take advantage of the temperature of the seawater to air condition the environments. Residents also have access to around 200 charging stations for electric vehicles. Direct incentives to reduce the number of combustion cars circulating in the area. Even the materials used in the construction followed this line: low-carbon concrete, certified wood, and rainwater reuse systems for garden irrigation. All of this is part of a larger plan. The Principality wants to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050, and Mareterra would be the calling card for this ambition. In theory, it works very well, but in practice, the story is a little more complicated. Number 7. Environmental impact. Building on the sea always raises a difficult question. What happens to all the underwater life that was there? Monaco knew that this would be the most sensitive point of the project. So, before starting construction, it decided to invest in unprecedented measures to try to reduce environmental damage. The main one involved Posidonia oceanica, a marine plant that is fundamental to the Mediterranean. It forms large underwater meadows that serve as shelter and nurseries for fish, as well as stabilizing the seabed. It is so important that it is protected by European laws. Destroying these meadows was not an acceptable option. Therefore, engineers created a specific technique to remove and replant the Posidonia, something extremely rare in projects of this size. An adapted machine, similar to those that remove trees with roots and all, was used to cut entire blocks of vegetation, along with the roots and a layer of sediment. These blocks were placed in baskets and transported to another area, about 656 feet away, within the marine protected area. The total transplanted area reached approximately 5,380 square feet of underwater meadows. The operation was monitored by marine biologists and was considered technically successful. So far, the plants seem to have adapted to their new location. However, this was only one of the challenges. To recreate part of the environment that existed before the construction work, artificial reefs were installed around the neighborhood, attracting fish, algae, and crustaceans. Throughout the construction, sensors monitored water quality to prevent leaks and contamination. Even so, critics say the impact was significant and that there is no solution capable of completely compensating for the loss of a marine ecosystem that took centuries to form. The truth: only time will tell how much Mareterra has altered the Mediterranean around it. On the one hand, it is undeniable that Monaco has taken rare and expensive measures to try to reduce environmental damage. On the other hand, it is equally true that building on the sea always leaves deep marks. Number 8. The most expensive land in the world. If Mareterra's engineering is impressive, the neighborhood's real estate market is even more unbelievable. Nothing there was designed for the average resident. It is a territory created for the ultra-rich, people who buy real estate as if they were buying works of art. Even during construction, the apartments and villas began to be sold off-plan, and it didn't take long for everything to sell out. Prices ranged from $40,000 to $100,000 per square feet. Per square feet. That alone puts Mareterra at the top of the most expensive places on the planet. And there's more. The Financial Times reported units reaching around 120,000 euros per square feet, surpassing famous markets such as Hong Kong. It is no exaggeration to say that this neighborhood has become a private club for billionaires. Some of the penthouses and villas exceeded 100 million euros each. It is the kind of value that rivals European castles or historic palaces. That's why the press started calling Mareterra the most expensive neighborhood in the world. And honestly, it makes sense. And even with such absurd prices, virtually all properties were sold before the official opening. The line of interested buyers was so long that buying a property there became a global status symbol. For Monaco, the return is almost immediate. Each million-dollar sale stimulates the market, attracts new wealthy residents, many who had never lived in the principality, and generates indirect taxes that feed the state coffers. In addition, Mareterra brought something rare: really large apartments, capable of accommodating entire families, something that had been lacking in the country for decades. But there is another side to this story. Not a single inch of Mareterra was designed for affordable housing. There is no low-income housing, no middle-income housing. Monaco remains one of the most exclusive clubs in the world, and Mareterra has only raised the barrier to entry. To give you an idea, 100,000 euros per square feet is enough to buy an entire apartment in many European cities. In Mareterra, that price buys only a piece of the floor. It is luxury at its highest level, the kind of place where only multimillionaires can set foot, or rather, unpack their bags. Number 9. Present and future. After all this, it is clear that Mareterra is more than just a neighborhood. It has become a symbol of what Monaco wants to be in the 21st century. A tiny country that refuses to accept any kind of limit. The principality has literally redrawn its map. It has increased its territory, expanded its maritime border, and shown the world that if there is not enough space, they will build new space. Urban planners and experts around the world began to cite Mareterra as a rare experiment, an example of controlled territorial expansion, with advanced maritime engineering, sophisticated urban planning, and an absolute focus on the ultra-luxury market. This further reinforces Monaco's image power, the idea that the country can innovate while maintaining an air of exclusivity. But Mareterra also reveals a dilemma that Monaco has been trying to hide for years: the social divide. While the country sells itself as a laboratory of sustainable urbanism, investing in clean energy, green spaces, and modern ideas, it remains a space reserved for the privileged few. The new neighborhood reinforces this. It is beautiful, technological, efficient, but inaccessible to most of the planet. Ultimately, the place delivered what it promised. It delivered a new piece of the city with extreme luxury, cutting-edge architecture, and several environmental solutions that deserve recognition. Whether this represents a triumph or just billionaire extravagance, that depends on who tells the story. On the one hand, Monaco gained territory, gained prestige, and attracted even more millionaires. On the other, the Mediterranean lost part of an ecosystem that took centuries to form. The future will tell what really remains of this legacy, but one thing no one can deny: Mareterra is proof that when there is no land, Monaco builds its own. So, what surprised you most about this story? Was it discovering that Monaco created land out of thin air? That every square feet there is worth more than an entire apartment in several capitals around the world? Tell us in the comments. We always read them. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the hype button. This helps this content reach more people. See you in the next video.